Hey guys, we're watching another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Tuesday evening. What are we up to tonight? Watching a bit of Champions League. I think as I'm recording this, Newcastle and Dortmund are playing. I think it's 0-0. So what are we up to tonight? If you're watching a bit of football, enjoy it. I hope to bring you a little bit more sort of good news compared to obviously what happened last night and obviously what I talked about this morning. So give you a bit of a heads up. We're talking a little bit around Marcus Edwards, obviously being the man on the thumbnail. Bit of an interesting update around him from Sport Witness. We're also talking a little bit around Juventus' interest in Højbjerg. Not shocking, obviously we know that's kind of a thing. As well as an intriguing report about Gleison Bremer. You'll know who that is, Juventus centre-half. And something that I want to potentially predict. But let's jump in. Let's talk Marcus Edwards first. So from, like I said, from Sport Witness, they said that Tottenham and Chelsea are, quote, leading the way for the signing. Spurs have the upper hand in this race due to still holding a big percentage. Sporting want to raise the release clause from 60 million euros to 80 million euros. So, first and foremost, on the percentage side of things, we used to have 50% of the next sale of Marcus Edwards. We actually relinquished 25% of that for the Pedro Porro situation. So obviously Pedro Porro coming from Sporting Lisbon as well. So now it's down to 25%. You know, if they're really, if you think, to give you an idea of how that money works, 60 million euros right now, we're sitting with, I think it's like 15 million euros or whatever it is, with the 80, it'd be 20 million euros if he was to say, let's move to Chelsea, Obviously, former Spurs boy himself, he was touted to be, one of the better players coming out of the academy. He obviously went off to Portugal, did his own thing. Then he got his move to Sporting Lisbon. We have actually seen him play at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He's also scored at the Tottenham Stadium. I was actually at that game. He scored in my end as well. Fuming. Look, the way I'm going to look at the Marcus Edwards situation is, I think a lot of people remember, yes, he's homegrown, English, he's from Spurs, he's a Spurs boy, that kind of thing. The way I want to compare it is to where he plays, who plays there, and is he an upgrade, a downgrade, a sort of parity kind of signing. So he is predominantly more of a right winger cutting inside onto his left foot. Obviously, of Dejan Kulusevski, who, if you disregard last night, because I don't think it's fair to talk about anyone's real performance, in terms of the outfield players who stayed on the pitch, without giving them major props. He this season has been very, very good, Dejan Kulusevski. All stats prove that he's been a very good winger this season. I think a lot of Spurs fans that maybe aren't too keen on Dejan Kulusevski, they go, doesn't get the goals or assists, etc., etc. But actually, if you look at his key contributions to the build-ups to goals and things like that, he is a massive contributor to a lot of things. I think at Spurs in this system, we ask him to actually be the guy that gets us out of trouble in terms of hold-up play, creating the width, just kind of getting everyone else involved. Sometimes it doesn't always happen that he gets all the contributions. Sometimes Maddison or, Porro or left wing, Sonny, whatever. He doesn't always have that, but he's actually been very, very good this season. So when you compare him to a Marcus Edwards, they're kind of two different players. You probably find Marcus Edwards maybe is a little bit more like a Brian Hill, a bit more agile, tricky, quick, quick twitch, things like that. But when you play on the right wing and you'd be, again, I guess, battling Kulusevski, I don't see him being the upgrade. I see him being great to have, but I don't see him being an upgrade. He's maybe a parity or maybe even slight downgrade on Dejan Kulusevski. He's a different style player, which I think is quite nice to have, I guess. When we think of our injury list now, Brian Hill gets a lot of injuries. Richarlison's going off for surgery. Sonny gets injured quite a bit. You've had Dejan Kulusevski he's had a few injuries in his time at Spurs. So there's no harm having that extra person there. Just to think, actually, Brennan Johnson, obviously, after his first start, got injured in that game against Arsenal. So it's no harm having an extra body there because we're never really having all of them fit all at once. So, looking at, let's say if we base it on 60 million euros and Spurs having a sell-on fee of 15 million euros, it's a bit more technical with these sort of things. But I think 45 million euros, you're talking about late 30 million, sort of a 37, 38, if I'm I don't have, obviously, the converter in my head to tell you what it would be in pounds, but that's kind of the value of what it would be. And in today's market, weirdly, that's about right, you know. And I guess, yeah, he's English, so I guess English tax can help us if we were to move him on afterwards, if you ever thought like that. But I'll be interested to see what Spurs think of that, because he is a signing that would fit what they're trying to do. It's just a shame we would have had to spend 30, 40 million on him just to bring him back, you know. Let's talk Højbjerg first, because I want to tie this into the Bremer situation. So this came from DiMarzio, who said that Pierre-Emile-Højbjerg is in the crosshairs of Juventus. 2 leaders were present in the stands during the Tottenham-Chelsea game. A potential transfer will be very difficult as Spurs continue to ask for 30 million euros for the Dane. Well, what they watched was a guy who actually played really well, who could easily do it in a defensive system, which Allegri system can be, but also can do it in the Italian league for sure. With that being said, that last part of, they're struggling with the 30 million euros, I guess what you could potentially look at, before I give my true opinion, what they could potentially look at is a loan with an obligation. So if Spurs want 30 million euros, but Juventus obviously can't afford that in January, you might say, look, give us 5 million euros into the summer and an obligation in the summer of 25 million euros that you can spread over a few years, right? You could do it like that. Therefore, you still get the money you want, and it comes in the summer anyway, which... it's not the end of the world. We don't have financial fair play issues, so it's not the end of the world if that happens. I've been pretty consistent that he has value in terms of when we're trying to hold on for leads, or we need to get a bit more physical in the midfield, whatever you might find on that. I think you'll probably see him move on in the summer, just because I think it would probably benefit everyone mostly. Maybe not Højbjerg to a degree, potentially, depending on how it goes with a new club. He's going to get in the Danish squad regardless. Obviously, he'd probably like that run of games leading into it to get himself into some form. But you still have a year left on his deal. You still get some decent money from him in the summer. You have time then to replace him in the summer, that you're not sort of condensed into that 1 month period in January. But the reason why I tie it in, and this next story comes from Sport Witness again, so 2 from Sport Witness today. Like I said, they've been really on it, and I've been really intrigued by a lot of their information coming out, because actually they were one of the first ones to say yesterday that Richarlison was on the bench, and that was about 40 minutes before kickoff, which I was quite impressed by. But they talk about Gleison Bremer, and they said that Man United are on the lookout to sign the 26-year-old Brazilian. It doesn't feel a lot in it now, also linked with Tottenham and Chelsea, and will depend on circumstances of the club come the summer. Now, the reason why I want to tie it in is I know Pogba's getting his ban. Fagioli's already got his ban for his betting. Rabiot is probably moving on in the summer for free. Bremer obviously has a hell of a lot more value to his name than Højbjerg, okay? Younger as well, So if we let's play a few different avenues. So, you could look at Spurs, maybe don't want Bremer. They move on from Højbjerg. Let's say they get 20 million, okay? There you go. Maybe you look at it and go, is there an opportunity for exchange deal there? Now, before you jump down my throat, let me explain. Obviously, Højbjerg going off to Juventus, Bremer coming over to Spurs, okay? There's an imbalance there. That's not the same value, is it? I think, I think they were talking about they wanted like 80 million euros. They're not going to get 80 million euros for Bremer. They're not. I think the way you might look at it and go, Højbjerg, Bremer, swap. Let Spurs think 20 million for Højbjerg. Let's say it's 25 million euros. They might think, we want 70 million euros. Okay, well then you're looking at that and it's 45 million euros, which is late 30 million pounds. Højbjerg, let's say Højbjerg in 35 million. Would that be something that potentially works? Maybe. It shows after, obviously, last night that depth at centre-back is scarce. And come summertime, Dyer will be moved on. That's another one out the door. Sanchez will be out the door. I know Tanganga's on loan, that he might come back. You never know. But he's probably gone as well. There's 3 already there. You've got Phillips, you've got Dorrington, okay? And I expect to probably see a little bit of, maybe even both of them, in I guess, the coming couple of months, because we'll wait and see what happens to Mickey van der Ven. But, Romero misses 3 games. He misses, obviously, this weekend, Saturday lunchtime against Wolves, but obviously misses Villa and City when we come back after the international break. Now, yes, Mickey van der Ven gets at least a 2-week period where there's no Premier League football. And, by the time we come back, it might have been about 3 weeks. I don't see him being fit. It might be a miracle that he'd be fit, but I think he's out for a little while now. I think a couple of months maybe, because that looks like a pretty horrific hamstring injury. So I got a feeling that come January time, Spurs are going to get a centre-half that can do a job. Okay, I'm not expecting like a Van der Ven Romero style, centre-back where we think we've got an absolute stud there. Thinking more so someone that potentially can be made into a very good centre-half. And then I think in the summer they go and get a true centre-half if what they see in the next sort of 6-7 months of the rest of this season, they're not impressed by the Dorrington, not impressed by the Phillips. And if it is Bremer, he's a player and a half, and he's 26 and, I'm not too worried about that because obviously at centre-half, look at Thiago Silva. He's 39, still playing absolutely at the top of the Premier League game at the moment. I wonder what they'll do, because I think we at Spurs have always had this issue, and I don't know what you think about this. We've got this issue of we've got a really good number, we've already got a really good starting squad of 11 out there, right? And because we don't do a very good job at rotating, and this isn't on Ange, this is across Pochettino, Mourinho, Nuno, Conte, Redknapp, Villas-Boas, I could go on and on and on. We've never rotated very well. And partly because the depth hasn't been there, partly because the starting 11 is so good. But the problem is you run them into the ground, there's nothing there to fill in for you. When you look at, for example, I think Man City's a good one, but I think I'll go with other teams as well. But Man City, obviously, you think of let's say their attacking wingers. You've got Doku, you've got Grealish, you've got Foden, Bernardo Silva can play a bit there. They had Mahrez, they had Palmer, right? I think, when you look at, for example, even with Arsenal, you've got Martin Saka, you've got Trossard, you've got Jesus that can play a little bit of right wing, that sort of situation. It probably something they could get a little bit more in there, but they have at least some decent backup. It's the one thing I think Spurs have always struggled with. And it's, players look at it and go, but you always play the same players, it's going to be hard for me to get in the team. And I think fans go, well, don't come then. It's like, well, no, that's not the way we should look at it. We should be looking at it as, well, actually, if we had you, we'd be able to get loads of rotation in there that actually you'd be pretty fresh all through the season. So would the others, that our performances stay high all year round. I don't know. I'll see what you think about that, because I'm interested in what you think about the Bremer situation, because I think we've been linked with him so much. There's always something in it. Be it we're actually interested, be it Juventus want it out there, be it his agents want it out there and want to use our name. That happens a lot in football. I don't know. But anyway, guys, hope you did enjoy the video. Drop a like on the video if you did. Hit me in the comments section below. Obviously around the Bremer situation, with the Højbjerg situation, obviously Marcus Edwards. I want to know what you think about all three of those guys. Hit me in the comment section around that. Honestly interested to see what you think about all three of them, because they're all quite interesting deals at the moment. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Go on, be a lad. And hit the bell notification for more. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, guys.